All right, welcome. My name is Jake Hofer, and this is a great conversation that we had with Don Higgins last summer, and we're talking about what all great hunting parcels have in common. And this is great information for if you're looking to buy a piece of ground, lease a piece of ground, online scout for a piece of public. The things that are discussed here are tangible in a lot of different ways. So I hope you guys listen up, enjoy the conversation. We started another channel. It's focused more on land, and you can head over to the description, check that out. We have uploads there every single Thursday and Saturday to find more conversations like this. So I hope you guys take advantage of that if that's something you're interested in. So let's get right into this conversation with Don Higgins.
You've helped a lot of people make farms better. And I feel with a lot of things, there's always the lowest common denominator, like the one thing that is in common with all those parcels. And based on your experience, like what have you seen that the top tier, like the top 1% of farms, like what do all those farms have in common? Is it seclusion? Is it the size of the parcel? Is it cover? If you had to boil it down to one thing or a couple things, what typically makes a farm just like top tier?
Well, I think the layout of the property for one thing, but I tell people all the time, the most important thing, whether you're buying a property or leasing or whatever, what is around that property is more important than what's on it. And what I mean by that is you could take a 10-acre property that's nothing but open ag field, not a tree on it. And if it sits right next to a 1,000-acre sanctuary where no hunting is allowed, and you put food on that 10 acres of ag field that you buy or lease, well, you can have fantastic hunting. So, and I think that's lost. A lot of people lose that idea when they're buying or leasing a farm, is they don't look beyond the boundary. They look at what's there and don't consider what's around the property. So that's a big one. I think there's probably more properties ruined by too much hunting pressure than anything. That's something very common that I see from one client to the next is a lot of people, deer hunting is different to different people. And for a guy like me, it's almost a solitary thing. I'm kind of a loner anyway, and it doesn't bother me one bit to spend a week alone sitting in a tree, where other people, they want to have friends around when they go to camp at night. And sometimes they even got to have them in the tree with them. And it's very common to see a property with way too many hunters on it. And too many hunters means there's not going to be mature bucks to any degree anyway. So those are a couple of big ones.
You said something there about, not paying attention to or not fully understanding of what's around that property. And just from, I guess, a listener perspective, I've tuned into the Chasing Giants podcast and listened to you and Terry. You guys do a great job. But there was a specific episode where you were referencing like a hub and a spoke of a wheel. Could you, I guess, go through that that analogy of your property being a hub and the spokes going to other hubs and whatnot? Could you go back over that for our listeners?
Yeah, and I don't recall the specific episode you're talking about, but you want your property to be the prime property in an area. So it's the hub. It's where the deer on surrounding properties come to your property at some point. It's part of their travel. A lot of that is security. If you've got the most secure property in an area, the deer are really going to focus in on that, and that's where they're going to go when the pressure's on. Food will really help hold them there, especially food in the late season. And I think a lot of guys manage their farm for hunting season. And I take a different approach. I manage my property for the entire year. I don't ever want a deer to have to leave for food. It doesn't matter what month it is. I want food there for them, quality food. And I want security cover there, every day of the year as well. And when other, landowners around me are putting pressure on their property or they don't have food on their property, well, guess what? The deer are coming to my place. So my place kind of becomes the hub, the central, activity center, if you will, for the deer in my neighborhood.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep. Totally makes sense. So I guess if a land buyer, a leaser, and I guess anyone looking to get into their own private parcel, whether it's purchasing or leasing, taking that approach is probably, like you said, it's, I guess in reality, that's one of the most important thing is making sure that you're kind of better or the best in every aspect around whitetail habitat, hunting pressure, food, cover, all those things, kind of full spectrum in that deer neighborhood.
Right. I mean, I tell my clients all the time to think of your property as one square on a giant checkerboard.
Mm-hmm.
You're surrounded by other properties, and you got to make your square the best square on the checkerboard. And to make it the best, you got to make it different. You got to offer things that nobody else on the checkerboard's offering, and that can be different food sources. It can be a degree of security that they can't find anywhere else. It can be a type of cover. For example, maybe nobody else in your neighborhood has switchgrass fields. If you've got a large switchgrass patch on your property, well, you're probably going to have some bucks bedding in it.
Right.
So anything you can do to make your place different and better.
Yeah, a little more diverse. One quick question on, you're talking about hunting pressure and sanctuaries. What's your thought? I guess let me frame it up this way. There's two total different ends of the spectrum around sanctuaries and hunting bedding areas, right? There's guys that have parcels that, they block off X amount of acres. That's their sanctuary. It is a cardinal sin to ever step foot in that area of their property unless they're retrieving a deer. But then you have other guys that, that's their whole strategy is to hunt bedding areas. Where do you fall in line with like either one of those thoughts or strategies, ideologies?
Well, I think I fall right in the middle because I like to hunt bedding areas, but I'm hunting right on the edge of them. I've got sanctuary or a sanctuary on my property. The whole heart of my property is a sanctuary, and I stay totally out of it. I give it to the deer, but I'm hunting the edges all the way around it with my scent always blowing out. So, I'm kind of somewhere in between, I guess.
Okay. No, it makes sense.
There you guys have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation with Don. Like I mentioned before, we have a brand new land channel that covers a lot more conversations like this. New uploads every single Thursday and Saturday, and we have the Land Podcast that releases new episodes every single Monday at 5 a.m. Central Time. Hope you guys take advantage of that information. See ya.